Hi guys, hope everyone's doing good. So in this video I'm going to break down how Leeds United beat Chelsea. Of course there's hundreds of ways in which you can interpret this, but for me, I'm going to focus on the midfield three, mainly, being Adams, Aaronson and Roca, how their play dictated the game and how they decided the fate of the game. I'll of course go through the goals as well, as I always do, and some really big chances. But yeah, I'm going to focus on the midfield in this game. Focus how our midfield controlled their midfield and in turn controlled the game. Let's get into it. So yeah, for me, the first thing is actually an area at the very start of the game, where Sterling hit it wide, which was actually a weakness. And there's very little of them, but we've got to go through them, we've got to be fair. So what happened was, obviously, Rasmus tried this ball over here, which in theory, it was similar to this position. Rodrigo and James were both running. In theory, if you can make that ball over there, that's actually a really good ball. But I think Koulibaly actually did really well to read it. He got in front of James, who had gone, right? So the ball was this area here. But James had gone, Koulibaly had come into it. Was it the best pass, or is it miscommunication? That's irrelevant. He gets it here. Like that. He actually does a 1-2 with Cucurella here, which draws in Adams like that. And already, you can see, so he's passing it back to Koulibaly, by the way. He's just passed it to him. He's passing it back. Adams has drawn in. He's not got there in time. And as you can see here, and this is what I really want to pinpoint. Where's our midfield? Look. They're around this area here. Right? There's no pack. The hunting in packs isn't there. Dan James has come back. Rodrigo is here. Aaronson is here, but it's not close enough. Do you know what I mean? Usually we'd see this or this, right? It's just a little bit out. Aaronson is not quite on Gallagher yet. That's because, the ball went over and everyone obviously thought we were going to get into it, but we didn't. And the reaction wasn't quick enough, and this is where we got clout on the break. Obviously, Rasmus is up here. Cucurella's come here. And then you're thinking, oh, now what? Klopp can't leave here because he's got Havertz, and that's just too much space for these guys. So he's retreated here, and the ball goes into Gallagher here. Adams is totally out of the game. Aaronson is totally out of the game. Rasmus tries to cut this off. I know people obviously would blame Rasmus in this situation, but he's got Cucurella to watch. Sterling's a free man because in this position we didn't win the ball. So the ball goes through to Sterling, and yeah, he cuts inside and nearly scores. And that's happened. Rasmus tries to cut it off, and he almost does, in fairness to him. But he can't do this, because then you've got this. This is his man. He's got to try and watch this area. This is a midfield vacancy. Shortage. But now we'll get on to how we rectified that and how we changed the game. And they're not... On the 1:30 mark, we did this. This is the shape. So what happened was we had it around here. I think we lost it. Jorginho drove inside, and he drove inside to this. This is Leeds. This is what we should be. And if you go back to the previous thing, there was too much space. There's no pass through. Obviously, you'd see these and you think, oh no, there's a space in here, right? Yes, there is. But the idea, don't let them do that. And we blocked it off. Jorginho tries to take some on here, and there's no way out. Roca's coming in here, right? There's no pass. So, and he does well, in fairness to him. He wins a free kick from James. But this is my point. But look at the midfield. When I say midfield, obviously Aaronson's breaking that. Aaronson's really good at drifting out wide, especially when Dan James comes in here to do the pressing. Aaronson will drift out wide, and Koulibaly can't deal with him, or any defender can't deal with him. But this is the position we need to look for more often. And this is what we got throughout the game. This is why Chelsea's midfield was made redundant in this match. They were not there. They didn't do anything to a great extent. It's the type of players they are. Jorginho, Mason Mount, particularly. You expect special things. They didn't do that in this game. And this is why. This is what we did. We broke the game up. We made little fouls. Now, I'll give some really good examples. Yeah, 15 seconds after the previous example, we're in this position. Loftus-Cheek's got the ball up here. So what's happened is, Pascal Because of the situation, Pascal pushed up. However, what happened then was Mount went out wide. Obviously, they're trying to exploit that space when we push our fullbacks up, right? Because they've seen our fullbacks will press a wing back. They will do that. So they've obviously tried to come out wide to exploit space. All that's happened here is Matt Roca's just followed him. But we're not outnumbered because they're really trying to focus on the width. Havertz is also out in this area. I mean, there's nothing in here. So Tyler Adams has a full area of the pitch. Aaronson has this area. He's just got to watch Jorginho. You know, and Gallagher's been watched here by Adams. So this is the area that Chelsea should have played in, right? But we did not allow that because he's watching Jorginho. Loftus-Cheek, Strauch's here, so the only ball for him is out wide. There's no way in here for him. It's only 2 Mason Mount. Adams is in here watching if Gallagher breaks in. And Havertz is just focused on this. They really tried to focus on the width. They didn't try to play in here. These areas were not made. And continuing the move. So Loftus-Cheek luckily gets past Strauch. But what he has to do in order to do that, Matt Roca's already read it. And this is what I talk about every week, is risk. Roca's moved up for this. Because to get past Strauch, he's got to knock it through him. Which means he does a big touch. You know, it's 50-50. Roca's winning that. And what happens is here. So this is the midfield, by the way. Roca, who's playing left back. He's doing the midfield job at left back. He wins the ball before Loftus-Cheek. And then we win in here. You can already see the numbers we have around to play with. These far in here, you got Dan James can do some breaking runs, maybe stretch it a little bit. You know, this didn't come off because the pass went into here. It went into one of those, I think. But the point is, it's that risk versus reward in midfield. Look where our midfield are here. Adams is literally vacating this space. There's no one bothering him. They don't want that. They want to play out wide. But we've identified that by putting the players that can win the ball in that position to follow Mount. We've not passed him on, we've followed him, which is interesting. Because what we usually do, you know, the thing about the Bielsa system was a man v man. And in certain extents in this game, we did do that. This is one example. Roca followed Mount. He didn't leave him. Wherever he went, he was there in this case. So yeah, that was good. That was good. And for me, this is literally 8 seconds after that. This is one of my favourite parts of the game. So we had it in this position. Bernard Aaronson gives it. I think we tried to pass into here, but it's cut out by Silva or Jorginho. They give it into Gallagher. And then the second he touches the ball, Adams is here. When he didn't have the ball, it was here. The second is here. He's on him. And it's 50-50. And he wins it, obviously. And I just want to point out, look at the midfield now. Look at that. Obviously, Rasmus is watching here. Sterling's been watched by Llorente and Clark and Havertz. Strauch is back there, narrow. As you can see, the only width they have is Cucurella, who is running that way, And now you can see why the midfield is so important. He doesn't win that. Sterling's in space, Cucurella's in space, even Havertz is in space. Even there's a ball potentially for Loftus-Cheek, although it ain't going through because of these two shadowing. So the ball is here. But this, and I can't stress how important this is. Adams winning this 50-50, and we talked about it last week, winning 50-50s, and he did it every single time. Mostly this game. Gallagher can give it to Cucurella, we're in big trouble. That's the weakness. But to negate the weakness, you have to win your battles. And look at the midfield shape. Adams wins his 50-50 with Gallagher, right here. And then when he wins it, the ball goes straight to Rodrigo, and then boom. Look at the position you are in. And this is what I love about this. So, Rodrigo wins it here. 1v1. Obviously, these guys are running back quick. Who is it here? Koulibaly. Yeah, where's he gone? Oh. Sorry. Yeah, Cucurella is literally here on his back. And you got Silva coming across. You got James tucking in because they play James at kind of a wide centre back role, which is interesting. 5 at the back to counter our 4 or 5 across here. And this is 2 seconds ago. Aaronson is now here. In here. Aaronson wants this run. He's pointing Rodrigo. He's saying, give it in there, give it in there. Aaronson's saying, give it to a little slight pass through this gap. And that's our midfield, ladies and gentlemen. We win a ball here. A minute later, we're here. You know, you've got Jack Aaronson out there. James is making this run in here. He's in loads of space because Silva's obviously wanting to watch this run. So the ball was in here or out here. I think Rodrigo cuts inside and we lose it. But obviously we win it back in this area by Strauch. But this is my point. Within a second of Gallagher potentially being able to get them in a scoring position, we are in a scoring position. All because of our midfield, all because of Tyler Adams' tackle and Tyler Adams' starting position in this area. So at 3:37, this is the next example, and this one is, oh, I love it. This is the one where Jack Harrison has a shot straight at the keeper, but, you know, another chance. This one is, and I was talking about the press in the midfield, but I want to add James into this. I'm seeing it, you know, the Spurs links and all that. But from what I've seen so far, you can look at the previous clip as well. James is a huge part of the press. This is against Chelsea, a top team. He was huge in the first and second presses. In this one, he wins the ball in midfield. Let's just go through what happens. So I think Jorginho gives it to Mount. Mount dropped deep. And interestingly as well, Strauch has, again, followed Mount. This is Pascal Strauch. He's here. Mount's about here. He's a left back. He's followed him, which is interesting. Which is very interesting. So obviously they're not letting him go because obviously Mount's the type of player who can create space easily. And if the second you switch a man on Mount, maybe it's the second when he creates that space. So we've almost said, follow him. If he goes in, follow him. And obviously this Roca is actually in here. I don't know if it's hard to tell if he's moving that way. He's running that direction. Maybe trying to cover. But it's that risk versus reward. Because Gallagher has it in here. And obviously you'd say the pass is here and here. But it ain't going there. Look at our midfield. He's coming in here. There, there, and there. And there. Strauch is basically doing Roca's job in this situation. Because Strauch is the midfielder in this situation. Because Roca is going to try to cut this pass out. But we don't care about this and this. We care about this, winning this ball. And it's a little Mount pass to Gallagher. Dan James, within almost the same time he touches it, is in there. And he wins the ball. And look who is around the ball. These two players again. The Americans again. He tries to turn with it. Dan James gets in there. The ball comes out to Aaronson. Aaronson's driving in this position already. Gallagher don't want it. And there you can see, there's our three again, attacking. Harrison's bombing down here. Adams is coming in here. Strauch goes back and Roca comes back. There's the attacking movements, the attacking areas again. From a potential position where they could rotate the ball out here. No, because we won the ball. And eventually the ball goes out to Jack Harrison. We do some good play. Aaronson takes on Gallagher in this position. He slides, gets nowhere near him. You know, if Sancho did it, it'd be all over the news. But what I like about this, and just forget where they are, I don't care. James is here, Silva's in here, Koulibaly's in here. What I'm focusing on here is the Leeds players, the midfield. So you've got Rodrigo there. James is cutting in here behind. It's a bit higher up, obviously. Rodrigo's wanting it in this position. Poacher. Jack's got it at the edge of the box. Obviously, Aaronson's coming in back post. But what I like about this, and you talk about risk, look how many players there are there. 4. Roca was here. Adams was here. See? Obviously, they had 1 or 2 more in here, right? But my point is, I forget this. I can't see that area, but it's this. How many times last season the last few years, have we had midfielders in the box? This is our midfield. And they are all in and around the box. Voice break. Jack Harrison shoots straight at the keeper, but this is my point. This is our midfield, all of it. This is it. Together, still close, still working together. Not dropping, none of this stuff here. It's here, together. Risk and reward. We go together. We play together. As a 3. If Roca goes out and Strauch comes in, you know, on those different movements, fine. you are the 3 then. And that's why Striker works so well, I think, in this system as a left back, because he can do the dirty work and Roca can drop. If they do movements, Strout can drop. Roca can drop and Strout can do the work in here. So that's just great to see for me. You know, we talk about controlling the tempo and how Jorginho and Mount can control the tempo of a game. But in this game, it was Adams and Roca. Because they were the ones, and Aaronson, they were the ones which were doing the little passes. They were the ones which were sitting deep, passing forward, moving forward with it in tandem together. It was them 2 throughout the game. And I've just done a few there. I'm going to do a few more now at certain different situations in the second half as well, where the midfield just stopped their midfield from playing. I've shown positionally how we won the ball and how we didn't allow them to play. But I want to know more. I want to know how we stopped Mason Mount and Jorginho. Because Jorginho played 60 minutes and got dragged off, guys. And for me, that double pivot of Roca and Adams is arguably one of the best of double pivots in the league. You know, you look at this one. You look at Gallagher and Jorginho. It's not double pivot. It's slightly different, but they were totally dominated. Mount was totally dominated. We'll get into a few more examples. So when we talk about midfield, obviously I talked about Roca, Adams and Aaronson, but for me, it's not about that necessarily. It's about the 3 in that position. Obviously, the 2 main ones in that position are usually Adams and Aaronson. Roca seems to be more rotation. So Roca is really good at, once we win the ball, give him the ball. That's Roca's role. And another thing I wanted to point out is Roca is really good at breaking it up. Whereas Adams is more likely to win the ball, Roca's more likely to break it up before it can even start, stop it, foul the player, back in these areas, which is fine. We're all right with that. And that's what I've been impressed with Roca. You know, obviously his passing range is amazing, but he doesn't have to use that as much in these games. So what else has he got? His awareness is excellent. His positional is excellent. And I think his breaking up of play goes unnoticed. Because for me, a midfield 3 in this system is about the press. As long as one of these 2 is always on it, you know their energy is there. And the other player in this situation, again, was Dan James, which is interesting, given a lot of people would be willing to sell him. And I'm not having that conversation. I'm just saying, watch the game back and watch how integral he was to winning this game. So in this situation here, these are the 3. Clock follows Sterling. So again, we're doing that following kind of rotation thing that we saw last year, just to some people, and it worked. Because obviously Roca's watching this space. Because if he's in here and Cock's in here, like usual, I think this leaves a bit more of a gap for Mount to drop in. I think what we've said is, if you can just have sitting there, just follow your man, and then he can cover all of this. But anyway, so what happens? Sterling gets in here. Here's the midfield in this situation here. 4 again, the 3 or the 4, the press, and it's James again. Because what happens? Aaronson tends to play wider, which meant that left problems for Koulibaly, and my mouse isn't working. That left problems for Koulibaly, who didn't know who to mark. Do I mark Aaronson? Do I mark James, who's played in this area? There's a problem. So what happens is we force Sterling back. There's no options out here. There's no way out. He either goes here or here. He chooses Gallagher. Guess what happens? Dan James wins the ball again in this position and starts another attack. Dan James does that. What happens after this is Adams gives the ball away. I think he fouls Jorginho, yeah. So that's what he does. They could potentially have something going forward. Right, they've got numbers. You know, there's the wide out here. Ross cheeks out by himself. He fouls him. He breaks it up. He doesn't let the play continue. He doesn't let Mount get on the ball. Mount's moved into here now. And now Roca's watching him. He doesn't let that happen. Because he fouls him. He breaks it up. And that is such a dark art in football that doesn't get spoke about. Breaking up play is vital. In the last 20 minutes of this game, we did it endlessly. last week we didn't see the game out. This week we saw it out by doing stuff like this. And this is what the stuff that goes unnoticed in a team. And again, in this position, was got Cock in here. Got the midfield. Cock's not gone up yet. Cock's following Sterling. Sterling's just walking here. You know, there's no real way out. But just in case he tried to find a way out, he tries a quick movement from Mount and you're in. Fouls him. Don't let that happen. So what Chelsea did was they wanted Jorginho and Gallagher to get on the ball more to dictate the play, to then give it to Mount, who could then dictate the play. But what we did really well, and this is what, the 17th minute? Mendy. James presses Mendy, and we saw this, what happened with the goal. Mendy plays the ball out here to Koulibaly. There's no option. This is the side they wanted to go, but the press James did was this angle, so we didn't allow that to happen. So we forced it out here to this side where we're probably stronger in the press, just because Adams is better at this side. He seems to win more battles at this side. So does Aaronson. He plays more this side. So we're forcing them this side. Koulibaly gets it. James is pressuring here. Rodrigo's watching Gallagher. But Gallagher's usual position would be in here with these two. And you're just not going to get the ball, right? But Gallagher comes out wide, meaning Cucurella could push on. But we just follow him. And they tried this, but Adams is already on him. And this is what's so impressive about Tyler Adams. He knows he's a step ahead. Second that ball gets to Gallagher, Tyler is here. And Cucurella comes short to try and get it. Rasmus is following him. So Gallagher tries a pass. Adams wins it, but the ricochet goes to here. But Rasmus has already read it. Rasmus is in there. Rasmus wins it, gives it to Tyler Adams. Look at the area now. Because what they did, now they brought Gallagher over here. That brought us even further. Now this is good for them if they can get it out of this position. But we didn't let them, and that's what's good for us. Risk versus reward. When we win that ball, look, 1, 2, 3, 4 versus 2. 4, he's running in there. 4 men versus 1 or 2. He comes over, Jack Harrison's got space. Like, for example, if we didn't win this ball here, Gallagher, say, gets a pass out over to Sterling. Adams doesn't press him quick enough. That's where the trouble begins. Because Rasmus is following Cucurella. Now you see the problem. And for their Sterling goal, that's kind of what happened. Roca missed the ball in here. Obviously, he was offside, so it didn't count, which is a great line by the defence, by the way, which was excellent in the second half. That's the risk versus reward. And I said last week, Adams has to win his battles. And he did, and good. Rasmus gives it to Adams, and we're on the attack. And that's how simple it is. Not simple, it's very difficult to execute. But once you are in that system, once you understand the system, you've got to do this. If you don't win your battles, you don't press. If you're a second too late, the ball is Sterling. And then you're in big trouble, right? Because you'll have Loftus-Cheek running in as well. Havertz running in, Mount running in. Sterling one-on-one net. 2 balls on the pitch. But yeah, that's my point. So I love this down here. I love this little movement. You remember it was like 17 minutes. See, for me, the most impressive thing about all of this is, also I've watched the game back and I'm going to do another reaction with the goals. I'll do a separate one. But for me, I've got them clips there from a 20-minute period in the game. And I've watched the entire thing again, and so consistent. It's so consistent throughout. And that's what's really impressive for me. It is so consistent. This happened for 90 minutes, people. And we saw it when they had periods of possession. What we were really good at was, especially in the second half, I'll show an example in a minute. The high line, not even the high line, just the line the defence had. And the structure in the middle. They were relying on we know Chelsea don't have that striker. We knew that. So we just packed the area, made them play crosses, and we knew we'd win it. And I'll show an example of that now. So yeah, talking about the second half, after we got our third goal. Excellent goal, by the way. So when they sustained pressure, what they did was, and which we've seen with Wolves and Southampton, when we have that lead, which we've had, when we've had that lead, obviously teams then say F the system, we're going to go for it. What they did was they brought Loftus-Cheek central, physicality. They took Gallagher, Jorginho off, and they brought on attacking players. And this is what it looked like. This was it. And obviously you can see the areas. They're really going out these wide areas here. So Aaronson and Struijk. And Aaronson was a lot closer to Struijk this time. As I said the last game about position, it was a bit like this. He was very close to him in these situations. And they tried to get players, they tried to play in here, but our shape was really good. Zayt could pick it up here. He'd try and find a little pass into Sterling. But the second Sterling got that ball, it was this. If Mount got that ball, it was this. Any of them. Pulisic got that ball, it was this. You see what I mean? We always had to, and we're good at that. So what? Even though they brought all these attacking players in, if we can stay consistent in our system and keep players around the ball, we'll win the 50-50s every day, and that's what we did. And they didn't create much. And our line was excellent. The amount of times James was caught offside because these guys have just one step. They played the ball through, it'd be offside. They went for it, they were desperate, they wanted to win. They wanted to get a goal. And for me, that just summed it up perfectly. Last week we saw, whether it was tiredness or positional, it wasn't good enough. The comeback was not, we should have won that game. But in this game, what we saw was more structure. Every guy, even when they brought on Pulisic, they brought on, who else did they bring on? Ziyech. They put lots of cheek in the middle. James then went to a winger. Cucurella went to a winger. That's a lot of people to mark. And we learned from last week and against Wolves. So their period was not damaging at all. And in fact, we actually won the ball back well. And what we did was, Aaronson went off. And also we brought on Gelhardt and Sinistera. And you saw already with Sinistera what you can do. We had that outlet. We didn't have that last 2 weeks. And that's why this period where they had the ball, where they brought all these players on, they didn't get much from, because once we won that ball back, we didn't just boot it. We had outlets. We had Sinistera playing. Came off Aaronson, who was tired. Roca came off, didn't they? For Forshaw in there like that. Obviously, I know Gelhardt came on and all that, and Gelhardt did excellent. Click did good. Energy, breaking up the play, fouling. Gelhardt getting a red card for Koulibaly. That's because of this, by the way, because they committed and we countered with Gelhardt and that, and he had to do it. Well, he didn't have to, 3-0 down, but that's my point. We had an outlet and we were still dangerous. And their 20 minutes of ball was very broken up and they didn't create much. And when they did, they were offside a lot because of the high line. And that's true, that's what I mean, we'll work on it. They've worked on what happened in the previous 2 weeks. And we're now more prepared for situations like this where the other team are gung-ho, they're going for it. We're now prepared for it, and we've got to keep doing it and stay consistent, because it'll be different every week. We'll get teams that might even go even more attacking. They might bring the defender up, 3-0 down, they've got to do something, right? So this is my point. It's all about training and just being patient with the players. Because there was no way Chelsea was scoring for me. No way. We were excellent in the second half. In a different way, but excellent still. Because the shape, again, was excellent. Forshaw was excellent. He cleared everything up. He did everything. Adams was running around like mental. And that's why Adams was my man of the match. Because in both systems, he did everything perfect. In the first half, the shape in the midfield was excellent. The pressing, the win the ball back. But in the second, just being consistent and calm and following his man, whether it was Mount or Sterling or Havertz, he cut everything out in this position. This was his area. He'd win the ball, give it to Forshaw, then you had Sinistera running, you had Rodrigo, and then he went off. And then you had Gelhardt and Click in there as well for whoever went off. I can't remember. But you get my point, right? We have outlets, different from last week, and it's really good to see. It's constant improvements. In areas where we're weak, we are working on it. Winning that ball so they don't get that pass off. We're working on that. Situations where teams go for it and then they start to play really wide, we are working on it. And it was a lot better this week. And that's what I mean by consistency. And that's it. I might do a separate video on the goals and just quickly break through the goals. But that's it for this. I wanted to focus on the shape of the midfield and the people in the midfield because it changed. But I just want to quickly go on the second half as well and how when we were under pressure, we dealt with it really well because our line, our structure, our team cohesion was excellent. And they brought on some talented players and they did nothing. They had 8-9 players in our half on our back line and did nothing because of discipline. Melier as well. I've got to shout Melier really quick. He was excellent. Even the offside ones that he saved. What a save. He claimed everything. He was loud. The defence was brilliant. Rodman Koch is so underrated for me. He's thriving. He really is. Londrente was decent. Rasmus was much better. Still improvements, but he's getting there. Aaronson position was better in the second half in that defensive situation. We brought on subs to deal with it. Sinisteri is going to be I'm begging he's going to be a good talent. I'm seeing it in him. We need to see it over a game. And obviously he's coming back to fitness and let's hope he stays fit and let's hope he really wants this because then he could be a top player in this team. Yeah, like I said, that's all. I'm rambling, but really good game. Excellent performance. Almost perfect. Still a lot of things to improve, of course. But against a Chelsea side who went gun ho and put 9 attackers on in the second half. Excellent for me. Excellent. On to the next game. And also, I'd just quickly like to say thanks for the support on the previous video. Like, the comments was, crazy, I love that. Conversations and stuff in the comments is good. As long as it's respectful, which it was good. It was genuine conversations, which I like. And if you want, these take a while, so I'd really appreciate a like and a sub just for this video, if anything, because these take a long time. I have to watch the game back. But yeah, thanks for support. You guys are incredible, and see you next time.